guys, welcome back to NoLogic. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Aorus 15G gaming laptop from Gigabyte. This is the flagship gaming laptop that Gigabyte is offering. Is it good? Continue watching to find out. Let's go. Firstly, let's look at the specs. The Aorus 15G comes in a wide variety of specs. Everything from the CPU, GPU, RAM, storage and even the screen have more than one option. For the processor, you can either get the Intel i7-10750H 6-core processor, the i7-10875H 8-core processor, or even the i9-10980HK unlocked processor. For the graphics card, there are 5 different options. They are the GTX 1660 Ti, RTX 2060, RTX 2070 Max-Q, RTX 2070 Super Max-Q, or even the RTX 2080 Super Max-Q. For the RAM, you can get up to 64GB of 2933 MHz RAM. For the screen, you can go for the 144Hz, 240Hz, or even 300Hz, all at 1080p. My review unit here has the 8-core 16-thread Intel i7-10875H processor, RTX 2060, 16GB of RAM, and 512GB of fast NVMe storage. There are 2 M.2 slots, so you can upgrade in the future. I will leave some links in the description below, you can check them out if you want to. Next up, let's look at some games and benchmarks. For the benchmarks, I turned off the Microsoft Azure AI as the AI seemed to yield lower results for some reason. Your mileage may vary depending on the games you play. I set the maximum setting on both the CPU and GPU in the Aorus Control Center app for maximum performance. Firstly, we have GTA 5. I set everything to very high and ran the inbuilt benchmark. At 1080p, I got a decent frame rate of above 100 FPS throughout the benchmark. This is good performance for a relatively demanding game like GTA 5 on maximum settings. Next, we have Minecraft. Just like my last video on the Aftershock Trixel, I used an intensive shader pack to benchmark the laptop. With the shaders turned on, Optifine, render distance to 24 chunks and fancy graphics, I could consistently get above 40 FPS at 1080p. This is enough performance to enjoy the amazing lighting effects of the shaders without lag. Next, we have Fortnite. With all settings set to epic, I could consistently get 130 FPS when running around the map. This is nice performance on a laptop. Do note that you can get better performance with the higher end graphics cards such as the 2080 Super Max-Q. This 130 FPS is just from a regular 2060 graphics card. For the benchmarks, we have Cinebench R20. I got a score of just over 3500, which is slightly lower than expected for an 8-core processor. It was lower than the other Intel i7-10875H processor I have tested, but real world usage should not be affected too much. Next, we have NovaBench. I got an average score of about 3100. According to NovaBench, the CPU score of about 1600 was only about the 50th percentile of all i7-10875H processors, which was kind of disappointing. Finally, we have DaVinci Resolve 17. I rendered my video on the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra and got a render time of 4 minutes and 28 seconds for the project. Here are the timings of other machines that I have done this benchmark on. I will leave the link to the project archive of the video. You can test it out on your own machines to compare with this one. Next, let's look at the hardware and features of the Aorus 15G. First, we have the build quality. The Aorus 15G is built like a sports car. There are sports car-like looking shapes all over the laptop and they make the laptop feel different. It has a full aluminum build except for the plastic bottom panel and feels sturdy. There is little to no deck flex or keyboard flex too. The Aorus 15G is 2.5 cm thick and weighs 2.2 kg, which is fine for a gaming laptop, especially because you can configure it with even better specs than what I have here. In this relatively thin chassis, there is a massive 94 Wh battery. This is really useful for portability as it does not have to be plugged in for about 6 to 7 hours of moderate use. It seemed like the Microsoft Azure AI does help with battery life as it tends to wind down the performance to extend battery life. The laptop does come with a massive 230 watt power supply to keep the high wattage components running at full power when plugged in. Moving on, The lid opens very easily with one finger as most of the mass is on the bottom part of the laptop and the screen is very light. It closes with a satisfying sound too. About the lid, there is an Aorus logo that glows white when the screen backlight is on. Speaking of screen, my unit here has a 1080p 240Hz IPS panel. It is available in 144Hz and 300Hz as mentioned earlier, but the 300Hz option is only available at higher specs. The screen looks great and has wide viewing angles. The 240Hz refresh rate is butter smooth and I like it. It gets bright enough and I preferred using it at about 30% brightness indoors. It also has a wide color gamut of 72% NTSC and a wide color accuracy of 100% sRGB. Overall, it is a great display for a gaming laptop. Next up, we have the keyboard. This is honestly the best part of the entire laptop. In a relatively thin chassis, there is a mechanical keyboard with 2.5mm of key travel. The keys here use the Omron mechanical switches. It also features N-key rollover and per key RGB. The mechanical keyboard is very satisfying to type and game on and makes a satisfying clicking sound when typing. This is how it sounds like. Next, the trackpad is huge and smooth and clicks on everywhere. It also has a built-in fingerprint reader which is convenient for Windows Hello login. Next up, we have the webcam. It is a 720p camera that is situated on the bottom part of the laptop instead of the normal screen panel placement. This is good as the camera is facing up and is not affected by the screen angle. There is a privacy cover on the camera which can be closed when you are not using it. So this is how it sounds like when I'm typing. And this is how it sounds like when the fans are running on maximum speed. You can still hear me clearly through the fan. Speaking of fans, the Aorus 15G has fans that get extremely fast and loud if set to max fan. With the current specs I have here, the fans never really ramped up to high speeds as there is lots of thermal headroom for this specific processor and graphics card. You might get louder fans if you go for the higher power components. Finally, we have the port selection. On the left, there is an air vent, HDMI 2.0 port, mini display 1.4 port, USB 3.2 Gen 1 port, a 3.5mm headphone microphone combo jack, and an RJ45 port, which is upside down. On the back, there are no ports, just air vents all the way. On the right, there are two more USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, Thunderbolt 3 port, SD card reader, and the power inlet. There is a wide selection of ports, but the positionings are not the best. Some ports like the RJ45 and the power inlet can be situated at the back to prevent any blockage of air through the vents and for more convenient usage. Overall, the Aorus 15G is a great gaming laptop with powerful specs inside. It looks stunning and has a great keyboard. However, it is on the pricier side of laptops as it is Gigabyte's flagship model. Fortunately, Gigabyte offers other 15-inch laptops too in case the Aorus 15G is over your budget. Some examples are the Aorus 15P and the Aorus 5. I made a video on the Aorus 5, you can check it out at the link in the description below. That's all I have for now. I have more videos coming out soon, so stay tuned for them. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!